My name's Dennis Pennington. I work for Michigan State University. My position's half funded by the Michigan Wheat Program, so all of you that are paying into the checkoff program are paying half of my salary, and Michigan State is paying the other half of it. So thank you for doing that, and I try to, every time I go out and do on-farm research plots and work with growers, I try to make sure that you know that I'm part of what you are funding, so that you can see for real what's going on. So this talk is going to be more of like an assessment, I guess, and we're going to ask you a series of questions, and we'll get your responses. I'll put the results of how you all voted right up on the screen so you'll be able to see, and we'll use this data. This is the third year of collecting this data, so this will give us a good kind of a benchmarking or baseline of what current farm practices are, or some of the current farm practices are in wheat production. And we will use that information maybe to help direct some of the research dollars that the board uses and so on. So if you want to grab, if you haven't already, grab the clicker that you have and the instructions on how to use it. I'll put a question up on the screen, and when you see the answers, you pick the button on the clicker that best reflects the answer that you want and push it. And when you push the button, there should be a light that'll light up. Now the clickers aren't not all the same. Some of them have a little digital display. Some of them are a little bit different color than this one, but they all should work. But when you click a button, a light should come on, and that indicates that you have been voted. There will be a little box in the corner of the screen that'll tell me how many people have voted, and so we've got about 300 people here. So we should be getting somewhere in the upwards of 275 to 280 responses as long as everybody's clicking a button and so on. Now, if you feel very strongly about something, you can click your button 10 times, 20 times, I don't care how many, it'll only register once. Okay, so you can't skew the vote. And the other thing is, if you answer and you think, oh, well, I want to change my answer, you can click on whatever number of times you want. But when I hit accept and close the polling, the last one you clicked on is what will get recorded. Okay? Are we clear on that? All right, let's get started. So, if you were paying attention to this last presentation, you might know some of the answers to this. What was the record yield wheat? World record yield wheat. And you can see that the polling is open. I've already got 130, 150. Keep the responses coming in. I'd like to see that number get up over 250 before I close the polling. Is everybody having luck with getting their clicker to work? All right, I'll give you just another second, and then I'm going to close it, and we're going to move on. All right, we're going to move on. Okay, so, well, boy, look at that. We got 88% got it right. All right, so 88% of you were paying attention. That's a pretty. Is that a good rate?
That's good.
That's good. All right, all right. That's good for Canadian standards. So, okay. So next question. And this is just kind of a warm-up question. So, if you could give our president some advice, what advice would you give him? So, pick your favorite response. Yeah, I don't have all the above. I didn't think about putting all the above on there, but. Pick your favorite one. I'll give you just a second here, and then we'll close the polling. I'm up to 187 responses. There, I broke 200. All right, we're going to close polling, and there's our response. Oh, stop tweeting was our #1 answer at 41%, and followed by keep up the good work at 26%. That's good. And get rid of more regulations at 18%. That's excellent. And only 5% wanting to get a haircut. I thought maybe more would want a better haircut, but anyway, okay. All right, let's move on. So let's get into some real questions and whatnot. A few of these questions up front are just going to be demographic to help us sort out who you are. So which of the following best describes your relationship to agriculture? Are you a full-time farmer, part-time, ag educator, and so on? So pick the one that most closely represents your relationship to agriculture. Yeah, you guys are fast. You're almost up to 200 already. Okay, so I'll close polling. All right, so vastly majority of farmers in here, and we got 16% agribusiness and a few others. All right, excellent, thank you. All right, which district do you live in? And look at the colors on the map. The colors are color-coded based on the districts for the board members. So each district represents one of the seats on the Michigan Wheat Board. And what this allows me to do is I can slice the data and show the board members how people responded in their districts. Okay, you're lagging on this one. Get your buttons pushed. All right, just a second, and I'm going to close polling. All right. Okay, so we are spread out across the state. Excellent. All right, what are the chances you think there will be an opportunity to lock in a wheat profit in 2018? I want to see how pessimistic our crowd is, or how opportunistic our crowd is.
Absolutely. Is there any question? Yeah.
All right, well, you have somebody in the front table here is trying to vote twice here.
Hey, I got two. I'm voting twice.
Yeah, oh, okay. Now you could only use one clicker now. That's not fair.
I'm Canadian. I don't follow rules.
We got a vote to take you to the bush. All right, so we are split on this one. Okay. All right, how many acres of wheat do you grow? Try to pick the one that best presents an average year. If you're up and down in wheat acreage, pick the one that is the, like your normal target or what you most usually grow. Okay, I'll give you just another second. Okay, we're going to close the polling, and so there you are. And I appreciate you guys answering these questions and doing these clickers. You just tallied 200 paper surveys for me. Do you know how long it would take me to do all these questions with that many surveys? It takes a long time. So there's your numbers on how many think that they're going to make a profit. So
22% are right, the rest are wrong.
yeah. Who was the 22%? You guys are right? All right. Oh, I got a few hands. Excellent. Good. The rest of you are wrong. All right. We were taking red wheat, white wheat, or do you grow both? My eyes are not what they used to be. I got to squint to see my screen. Got 136 votes. I'd like to get a few more if I could. Give you just another second. All right, I'm going to close polling. Okay, so 61% red, 33% white wheat growers here, and 6% of you grow both red and white on your farms. Okay, what type of varieties do you plant? Public, private, or both? And do you understand what I mean by this? Are you planting the public varieties like foundation seed, or are you planting private varieties that come from seed companies, or do you plant a mixture of both on your farm? Question back?
Can you check this system out for Russian influence?
Yes, we have a technology department that we are cleared. We have not had any Russian influence on this this program. We've had Canadian influence though. I think we're in better shape. All right, we're at 147, or if I can't read that, 183. All right, so 52% grow private, so only 18% grow just public, and 30% grow both. Interesting. Okay. On average, what percent of the seed you plant is bin run? And you can be honest, I don't know who's voting how or what response you're putting up there. It's completely anonymous. So if you're doing 100% bin run, answer G. Okay, I got 150 responses. I'd like to get a few more. Keep them coming. Yeah, make sure that green light lights up on your, it might be kind of an orange on some of them. All right, I'm going to close polling. And okay, so half of you are 0 to 15% bin run, and then it's distributed from there. So it looks like the majority of you are planting certified seed, which is interesting. All right, how many years from certified will you plant? Okay, so if you're planting 100% certified seed every year, your answer would be 0. And then if you're doing 1 year from certified, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Well, you guys are getting fast on those clickers. That's great. Give you just another second, and then I'm going to close polling. Okay, so the majority is, yeah, so 42% is zero. So 42% are planting certified seed every year. 47% of you said you're doing 1 year out, and only 8% go as far as 2 years out. And then just a few other than that. Okay, which varieties do you usually, how many varieties do you usually plant per year on your farm? Are you really mixing it up and planting a lot of different varieties, or just 1 or 2, or how many? Yeah, if we're counting the plots, he's up to 8,000 here. All right. So about 40% 1, 40% 2, a few of them planting 3, and a little bit more net, okay? All right, in the last 3 years, okay, counting the last 3 years, how many years have you applied a fungicide to control head scab and leaf disease? This is your anthesis application. In the last 3 years, how many of those years have you applied head scab? Or, I'm sorry, applied fungicide to control head scab. Yeah, you don't want to apply head scab. Okay, I'm up to 170. I'm going to close polling. Okay, 3. So 71% are doing it every year. Okay, 14%, however, said never. It's interesting. All right. Next question, do you normally apply early season fungicide to control diseases such as powdery mildew and leaf spot? Is that yes or no? Give you just another second. All right, I'm going to close polling. Okay, so I was actually surprised. I figured less would be doing an early season fungicide than this. 60% yes, 40% no. All right, do you normally apply a late season fungicide to protect flag leaf and the head? And that's similar to the 2 questions ago. Okay. 82% yes. All right, which describes the amount of nitrogen you put on at planting. This is pounds of N per acre that you put down at planting time, okay? Which represents, or most closely represents, your pounds of nitrogen that you apply at planting.
I assume you don't count if you're planting after beans, any credit for that?
Yeah, I want fertilizer nitrogen applied. Don't count legume credits here. Okay, I'm gonna close the polling. Okay, so we got a mix. We got a few that are doing little or none, 23% in that 16 to 20 pound rate. We've got a few that are a little higher than that, 13% in the 26 to 30. So, okay, interesting. All right, next question. Which answer below most closely describes how much total nitrogen you put on your wheat crop? So add your at planting, plus if you're doing multiple splits, add up the total amount of nitrogen that you put on your wheat crop, and then hit your answer here. Okay. Okay, so the majority of us are putting on 90 to 115 pounds. And we got 24% putting on 116 to 130. And then we got a 20% that are putting on 130 to 160 pounds. Okay. Mary, everybody see what they want to see on that? All right, in 2018, do you plan to split your nitrogen application? Put on 2 applications or more? Or are you just going to put on a single? If you're going to put on a single application, you'd say no. Okay, that was a quick response. All right, so 66% or 2/3 are saying they're going to do a split application. What source of nitrogen do you use in the spring at green up? So there's some dry products, there's some liquid products. And then there's a couple down there where you're adding a couple products, adding sulfur basically. E and F adds sulfur to a liquid and to a dry. Okay. Okay, so our talk about sulfur was right on the money. Okay, so most of you are putting sulfur in with your nitrogen. And I suspect that the amount of 28% being put on is higher this year. It's been increasing. There's been a shift to less dry fertilizer to more liquid. Okay. Do you use glyphosate as a desiccant? This was a question that came up earlier. This practice may be occurring a little more out in the Midwest. I'm just wondering, is it happening around here?
Would this be on some acres or all acres?
It's a good question. Is on some acres or all acres? I would say if you're doing it at all, say yes. At all. On any wheat acres. So just wheat acres. Okay, so 176 responses. Okay, so we got a few that are doing it, but not very many. All right, question on soil microbes. Do you use microbes to increase soil nutrient uptake, inhibit pests or disease, or increase yield?
So you're talking about adding microbes to the package. You're not talking about what's naturally in the soil.
Not what's naturally in the soil, adding some kind of microbial input.
How do we say no on this?
Okay, that's my bad. Don't answer if it's no, if you don't put any.
Try answering D. I wonder if we can D.
I'm going to try D. Anybody? Try D, see if you can get it to work. It probably won't. All right, I'm going to move forward. Okay, so we got a few that are doing it. Now, remember, these percentages are of those that answered, and there was only, I think, 41 people that responded. So of those 41 people, 44% are doing it to increase nutrient uptake and 49% to increase yield. Okay. What cover crops do you grow on wheat? If you're not growing any or putting any cover crop on, say none. Otherwise, pick the one that is closest to what you're using. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great on time. Okay. All right, so 30% of you are not putting any cover crop on, well, which means that 70% of you are. 31% red clover, and we've got a few doing radish, some other, and then volunteer wheat and mammoth clover. Okay. Which below most accurately describes your 2017 farm average yield? Pick the one that's closest to what your, and this is farm average over all your acres, not the 240 that you hit on your yield monitor in one spot in one field. Just poking a little fun.
I know. It's still pretty impressive.
Very impressive. I wish that was on my farm.
Me too.
Okay. All right, so here's where our yields are. Okay, typical bell chart or bell curve. 23%, which is the highest, or the median, I guess, 81 to 90 bushels, which is right about what our state average is. But we've got 22% in that 91 to 100, 11% in the 101 to 110, and we got only 4% over 110. So you asked a question earlier about anybody in the 120 and 125, we got some work to do. And this was last year, so last year wasn't good. And if I had put this question up for 2016, those numbers would be a lot higher, skewed toward the higher yield end. All right, what is the average rent you pay per wheat acre? I was going to take this out, but people wanted to see the results, so I had enough people tell me to leave it in, so I left it in. Yeah, if it's owned land, your answer would be A. It'd be below $75. Yeah, good point there. If you own all the land, it would be below $75.
I'm I'm not so sure about that. It all depends on
Well-
how many.
If you, yeah, you got to pay the taxes and everything else, upkeep.
And I gotta pay the interest on the bank loan and.
Yep. Yeah, so your cost of land is not zero for sure. But, all right. Let's see the results. There we go. I suspect we have quite a bit of owned land that's you got wheat on.
I don't care. I'm moving to Michigan. Lord, those are low land rents.
That's US dollars, though.
Yeah, I don't care. Even Canadian dollars, those are low land rents.
Okay, and then this I think is my last slide for this morning anyway. Are you aware of the online searchable variety trial results? Have you been to the website? Have you gone there and looked at it? Okay, I'm going to close the polling. Okay, yes, so 59% have been there and used it, 41% haven't. So for the 41%, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Because if you get the state yield trial report, there's a lot of information packed into there, and a lot of times you want to get right to, you know, what variety should I plant, and you're looking for information to help you make that decision. Here's a way to get that information. So when you get to this wheat search page, and it's at the Crop and Soil Science Department and the Variety Trials website, and they've got this for all the different crops up here, so you'd click on wheat. We've got the last 3 years of data plugged in there, so you can choose what year you want to look at. If you're choosing varieties, you might want to look at multi-year data, so you might want to go back and look what happened in 16 and 15 when you're making those selections. And then you have to choose a location as well. We force you to do this because the average of all the locations, we do have that in a table in the report, but usually when you're looking at information, there's so much variability from the Sanilac site to the Allegan site that you want to look at something closer to where you live and where you farm in terms of soil types. So I'm just going to choose 2017, and I'll just say, let's pick on Allegan, and let's say I have a favorite, let's just go to Dynagrow, and let's see what all of their varieties did. And we'll say search now, and it pulls up a report. There's all the Dynagrow varieties at Allegan, and if I want to sort by yield, I can click this little button right here. Well, it's sort of descending. So Dynagrow, what is this? This is an experimental actually here. Yielded 96 at the Allegan site. That was the highest yielding Dynagrow variety. Another thing you might want to look at, you might want to see what the stripe rust rating was, or you can look at flowering date, you can look at plant height, you can sort those in here. You've got your Fusarium head blight, you got your incidence, severity, and index. So all of them things are stuff that you want to look at, and you can sort these tables once you get in here. With that, I'll turn it back to Dave.